Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with Daily Technical Update. It is Friday, the 28th of November. It is the last day of the month trading-wise, so let's see how November will end. It is also Black Friday, where market is only open half, more or less half a day in US after being closed yesterday. So it's been a fairly quiet day. It can be a little bit of volatility today, but the volume in general will be fairly low. So I will do a quick tour here just to recap. I was at yesterday, and let's have a look at the future. What it does here. Nasdaq future is more or less unchanged. Basically a tad up pre-market. Here's the Nasdaq 100 future. Same with the S&P 500 future, also just a tad up. So it's still holding on. The key question is the RSI is still in a negative sentiment, hasn't closed back above 60 threshold. If we just very quickly look at the Nasdaq 100 cash that closed just a few pips above the resistance here at 25,223. So it actually has re-established a bullish trend, but it's not confirmed by an RSI close above 60 threshold. That's what we need. In Asia, that has had a full session. The Hang Seng a little bit lower, so still hogging this rising trend line that has been hovering around here for some time, just below the cloud. Negative sentiment, so we are slightly bearish here on Hang Seng. It needs to get back above the cloud and back above the 55 moving average here to have a chance of re-establishing a bullish trend. Nikkei unchanged. Needs to get back above 50,615 to move back in a bullish trend. EURUSTOXX50 was trading yesterday, so that was Europe was in session, and it had a fairly fairly quiet day though, not a big surprise. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, never closed below 40, so it's still in a positive sentiment. But to really reaffirm the bullish scenario, it needs to close above 60 threshold, but you can see we are above the 55 moving average, we are above the cloud. So I think we will see it crawling higher in the coming weeks. Here pre-market, it is unchanged. And DAX had a little bit better day yesterday, but still it is actually a negative sentiment. So the picture in Europe is actually fairly muddy. EURUSTOXX50 look good, primarily driven by banks, where DAX is still a little bit depressed. Here pre-market a little bit lower, so let's see. I think it will be a fairly quiet day. FX markets, euro dollar spiked almost up to the 786 retracement there at 116.20, now sitting back. And as I said before, I think we will see it sliding lower in the coming weeks, possibly down to 114. Very strong resistance up here in the region around 116.70. We have the 55 and 100 moving average pushing it lower. The sterling dollar. Yesterday, a bit of volatility in today, but opened and closed more or less in the same price, and now seems to be very sliding lower. We had RSI being rejected at 60 threshold, so I also think we see sterling dollar sliding lower here in the coming week. Unless it takes out the peak from yesterday, then we could see a push up to around 133. The euro sterling, that is trying to recover from a little bit of sell-off here the past week or so in a corrective phase. Could test the very close to test the 55 moving average and the 61.8 retracement there at 87.35. I think that it will resume uptrend, but there is a risk that it could dip down to 87 level. Dollar yen. Still dancing sideways, positive sentiment and no divergence on the RSI, indicating likely higher levels. And that's, I think we will get it a move above 158 here, towards 158 and higher in the coming weeks. But it's just taking a little bit of a breather. Euro yen, more or less the same picture. Also in a sideways corrective phase, but the positive sentiment and the no divergence indication, meaning that RSI is supporting higher levels. What you can do if you want to know more about how I use RSI in my analysis, there is an educational video here on my channel. Just go to educational and watch it. I think it's pretty useful for how to use RSI in your trading and in your analysis. Aussie yen, very close to take out the previous peak there. If it does, well, then there's potential higher. So we are basically a little bit range bound here, but you can see all moving averages are rising. So the underlying trend is bullish, despite the fact that we have divergence here, as we call it, where the RSI are sliding lower, but market moved higher. That it's a sign of trend exhaustion, but you can draw trend lines here on the RSI just as well as you can on the price graph. So if we can get the RSI back above the price graph there, well, then we are back in, then it has broken these divergences here, and RSI is above 60s threshold, so it's supporting bullish view. The sterling yen taking a little bit of breather after the strong move here on the 26th. So in a bullish trend, the RSI also is pointing to higher levels. A little bit stressed, but I think we'll see higher levels. Aussie dollar, well, once again being rejected here in the cloud, and the 55 moving average knocking it back there. So it seems like we will have it's sliding back. You will see that the peaks are lower and lower, and that indicates that we are in for a bearish breakout of it. We can actually move this all the way up to there. You can see basically all the peaks are declining. The lows here are more or less in the same place, so we have a bit of a descending triangle-like patterns going on, and I think the breakout will be to the downside eventually, but it could take some time. Dollar Canada in a correction phase. This one is just to demonstrate how far it could move, but I think we'll remove it for now. We are bouncing from around the 61.8 retracement at 140.30. Could dip down to 140 here, the 786 retracement. I think eventually it will break higher. Didn't get a new peak here, so we are a little bit in a limbo. But with all the moving averages rising apart from the 200, I think we will see dollar Canada push higher in the coming weeks. However, if it takes out 139.70 here, well, then we have a new situation where the bullish trend has been broken and demolished. Sterling Canada rejected at a 55% or the 50% retracement of this sell-off there, and the 55 moving average, and is now sliding lower, and I think it will slide back down here in the region around 184.50, 184. The overall picture is a little bit muddy. Yes, we had a break of the bearish picture of this range bound here, but still negative sentiment. And if it doesn't take out the 186.20 here and pushes higher, then an RSI closing above 60 threshold, then I think we'll see sterling Canada slide back lower. EURSwiss is, I think here we will see that in the coming days it will see a push up to around 93.85, possibly up to 94. We are in a bullish trend, positive sentiment supporting this. It's just a little bit of a correction here around these peaks here. Dollar Swiss, well, also a little bit of a setback, but I think it will crawl higher towards 85.50, maybe 81.50 and 82 in the coming weeks, especially if it takes out the peak here. We are establishing a bullish trend. RSI is indicating positive sentiment. 55 and 100 moving average they are pointing to higher levels. So it's just a question of time, I think. Dollar index bounced from the 61.8 retracement there at 99.43. We are in a bullish trend. You can see higher highs, higher levels, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher low, and higher high. And is this the next higher low? Could very well be it. And then we are to push higher towards 101, but it needs to take out 100.35. Gold slowly crawling higher. We have this triangle-like pattern here. Triangle-like pattern indicating that we had a lot of volatility this morning here in Asia, where it spiked to the 786 retracement of this sell-off there. If it takes out the peak here from today, which I believe it will eventually, then the next one is 42.45, that peak there, and then it really has confirmed the break of the upper falling trend line, with a potential higher to at least test the previous all-time highs there, but also pushing higher. The bullish RSI, positive RSI, is indicating the trend is to the upside to be re-established. Silver very close this early morning here to test the previous peak here at 54.40. And if it takes it out, well, then there's room to at least 56.60, but also there is room higher. And I think we can see 60 level being reached within a few weeks, maybe before year end. RSI back above 60 threshold, so it's been a positive sentiment all the time during this corrective phase here. I think we will see it pushing higher. Platinum very close to take out its resistance there at 1662, but we are in a bullish trend. We are above the cloud, we are above 55 moving average, RSI showing positive sentiment, so it should crawl higher. Same with copper, really. Positive sentiment, above the cloud, above all moving averages, and we have this gold crosshair I talked about for quite some time on the medium to longer term, so I think we'll see copper crawling higher. Crude oil has been slightly lower lately. Now we need just to do this. So we saw just a bounce there, but we are still in a bearish trend on crude oil. And here at the Brent crude oil, same picture, could bounce a little bit further up to the 55 moving average, but you can see all moving averages are declining. So I think we are in for lower levels eventually, but a bounce up to around 65 could be seen after testing the 786 retracement. The European nat gas sliding lower, and there is room down to the 28 euros. Henry Hub, the US nat gas, can't really move past this, but there is actually room up to $495 if it takes out the peak there. So let's see about that. On the European yields, yeah, it has been quite there, of course, since US has been closed yesterday. We are in a bearish trend, negative sentiment could slide lower, but there is a little bit of support here at 398 with the 786 retracement, so a little bit of a bounce, but I think we will see it sliding lower the coming times. We can also see here the 100 moving average coming down to 200, so the upper side pressure is still there. Moving on to the European yields, we have the EU 10-year bouncing a little bit the past few days here from the 38.2 retracement at 265, and I think we will see this range here for the near future. It needs to take out 263 to the downside and 274 to the upside to resume uptrend or continuing its uptrend, and here to reverse it. The UK 10. The UK 10 that sat back here a few days ago following the budget talks in UK, it's bouncing a little bit. Still key support down there at 438. And the Japanese, well, it's still in this bullish trend, so really not much to talk about. I think it will crawl higher eventually. I think it also will take out the peak there at 184, given that we have positive sentiment on the RSI and no divergence. It is indicating higher levels. Bitcoin keeps bouncing slowly, and I think we could see it higher here up to around 97,000, where we have some stronger resistance and a 61.8 retracement. The Ethereum up to around 3,244 is in the cards, unless it takes out the suddenly takes out the lows here at 2620, then it could collapse down to around 2100. But I think we will see the bounce continuing. All right, that was a quick and dirty one this morning here, because US is closed. It was closed yesterday and it's only trading half day today, so it will be acquired into the to the week, I believe. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and a nice weekend, and talk to you again Monday.